I've played tons of horror games, from survival horror games that require you to utilize skill to survive, to psychological horror games that leave you uncomfortable while you play them. And then there's puzzle horror games, like Crow Country.
Yeah, I'd like to solve the puzzle.
All right, go ahead. That's it, yeah.
Crow Country is a puzzle horror game in the style of old Silent Hill and Resident Evil games. You know, the inventory management game with the funny gay guy.
7 minutes. 7 minutes is all I can spare to play with.
In all seriousness, I had a blast playing Crow Country, and if you couldn't tell already, I had a blast making this video. So here we are. For this video, I'm going to be running through the whole game of Crow Country, talking about the story and lore, as well as giving my opinion on the game and making shitty jokes throughout the video. If this is your first time watching one of my videos, I am so sorry for you, but you should still press the funny button. So without further ado, let's get into the video. It's 1990. You play as Mara Forrest, Special Agent Mara Forrest. She's driving through Crow Country, a piece of land owned by Edward Crow that he inherited from his father. Edward built an amusement park on the land, also named Crow Country, and an incident happened 2 years ago which caused the park to be closed down. And now Edward Crow is missing, so now it's Mara's job to go to the park and find some answers. Arriving at the park, the gate is locked, so you blast that shit open and just walk right in. Heading into the park, you can find this Polaroid on the floor. If you don't know what this picture means, this is the last thing you see before you get slimed out by a Baltimore YN, and that's pretty much the only way I could put it. A bit further from the picture, we can find an injured guy sitting on the floor. His name is Arthur Mole, and he broke into the abandoned park and got a picture of the thing before it attacked him. Mara chooses to give Arthur a bandage, and he waits in the car for the rest of the game. Arthur's bitch ass was sitting on a note titled Tree Lady with a passcode on it, so now we have to go find a tree lady and input a passcode or something. And no, I'm not going to cover every puzzle in this game because the whole game is just solve puzzle, get key, that key leads us to another puzzle, which will give us another key item. So that's pretty much the whole core game loop. So we're not going to just cover every single puzzle. Mara walks down a dark hallway and runs into one of those Baltimoreans again. Okay, I'm done with the Baltimore joke. The monsters in this park are called guests. Get it, like amusement park guests? So for the rest of the video, we'll be calling them as such. After Mara blows the shit smooth off, she finds a crate full of rocks that are stuffed with gold inside of them. They are shipped here by one Marvin Trumbull from Brazil. But in all reality, this is the least of our fucking problems right now. At the end of the hallway is a super nice furnished lounge room, which makes no sense because the hallways are nasty and just decrepit, and it connects to such a super nice room, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me, but hey, what do I know about running an amusement park? Yeah, would you look at that? Inside the lounge room is another passcode to the tree fairy. So after putting in both codes, we can go inside the room behind the fairy, and after doing some silly little baby puzzles, we get the bronze key, and now the park is filled with a bunch of guests, just as normal theme parks should have. So here's where the first dilemma of the game comes in. After you progress the game a little bit, by doing more and more puzzles, more guests will spawn throughout the park, and more dangerous ones at that. There's no point in killing them because as you progress, more will just spawn back in, and they don't drop any items or ammo, and as a matter of fact, ammo in this game is super precious, and it takes forever, so many shots just to kill one basic guest. So there's really no point in killing them, so I present to you one of the craziest strats in all of the game. Just walk around them. And that's kind of about it. The bronze key opens up the haunted hill section of the park, where we find a girl named Julie trying to get into a room. Mara finds another way around and opens the door from the inside, letting Julie into the park's break room. Julie is a lawyer hired by the Marshall's family. The Marshall's daughter Elaine was injured at the park by someone 2 years ago, which caused the park to be shut down. And Mr. Crow had many court summons and didn't show up to any of them, so now Julie the lawyer is here to look for him. Also, don't ask why the park's break room has a jail cell in it. It's we'll get to that later. Using a crank handle we obtained earlier, she heads to the Ocean Kingdom part of the park. Mara goes into an arcade and finds a guy named Marvin Trumbull. Marvin is Edward's business partner, and he works overseas, but since Edward has gone missing, he came back to the park to look for him. Marvin mentions something about a guy named Mr. Tolman, who's the root excavator, which will make at least some sense later. Mara then goes to the back rooms part of the park and finds this crate with this nasty fucked up looking dog inside, so she just ends up killing it. Throughout the game, a phone will ring, and when you pick it up, the voice on the other end of the line talks like they know you, saying they're glad you came back to the park. Going back to the other side of the park, we can go into an office and find a dead guy on the floor. The guy is Douglas Pike. He's the one who was in charge of building the theme park. Playing the tape on the TV shows him talking about the sins of Edward Crowe and hoping that Elaine Marshall will never forgive them. It's not known if Douglas Pike was killed or if he killed himself, but as of right now, it's looking like someone else killed him. Leaving the office, we find a girl crying in the corner. When we talk to her, she reveals herself to be Edward Crowe's daughter. She came here to look for him because everyone else here had the exact same idea to go find Edward at the theme park. She says we need a gold key to get into Crowe's office, as well as turn off the electrified door handle, because it's a totally normal thing to electrify your door handles. Mara now needs to find a gold key, but she runs into Detective Harrison, and if you couldn't guess already, he's also here looking for Edward. And he's riding a pink bicycle because someone slashed his tires. Mara heads to the fantasy side of the park and does some puzzles and finds the silver key. The key lets her into Mr. Tolman's office. He's the root excavator guy from before. He doesn't really do much other than tell you to do more puzzles, and once you do the puzzles he tells you to do, you now gain access to the elevators around the map, going into the underground part of the park. Heading to the loading dock, we find a crate moving around, and after we open it, we can find Julie inside of it. Julie says that someone pushed her in there and locked it, so now we know that someone here isn't to be trusted. After going down to the underground part of the park, this place is actually just hell. Mr. Tolman and Marv are down here, and Marv is talking about the Brazilian government coming after him, so he came back here to hide. Standing in front of them is a giant green tube with gold inside of it, which is called a root, and we'll talk a lot more about that later. While we're down here, we can do more puzzles and get a bunch of more key items, as well as a diagram that says the gold key is inside of the tree fairy's head. Going to the theater room, the tree fairy is sitting there, and with the acid we found earlier, we can disintegrate her head and get the gold key from inside. Now that I say that out loud, saying we need to pour acid on the tree fairy to disintegrate her head is probably one of the most schizo things I've ever said yet. But anyways, it works because we get the key, so I guess pouring acid on people's heads is a good thing. Please don't do that. There's a boat ride in the ocean side of the park, and Mara asks Julie to operate it while she rides it. When Mara gets to the end of the ride, she finds a battery and a diagram that tells us to put the battery in the giant crow. The only problem is the battery is empty, and the bigger problem is Julie is now dead, or at least missing. But hey, that's not a problem anymore because we have the gold key, and it can get into Mr. Crowe's office now. Entering the office, the phone rings again, and the guy who's been calling us throughout the game has been Crowe himself. In the office is a surveillance room where we can see the car and Arthur on the camera. After flipping a switch, it activates the main elevator, and then there's a mini boss fight, but since you haven't been killing the useless enemies around the map, you can just easily kill this guy. Also, I think this is a good time now to talk about the weapons of the game. In most games, the weapon progression is pretty much handed to you, where you can easily buy them in the shop, or the game progression forces you to grab the next weapon. But in Crow Country, you could beat the entire game without even knowing that there's another weapon other than the pistol. So let's talk about them. In the game, there are main puzzles that are easy and forced to progress, and then there's secret puzzles, which are hard to find and even harder to complete. The first gun you can get is the shotgun in the ocean part of the park. After shooting a certain order of fish, the shotgun is unlocked to you. And after solving a train puzzle, which is pretty difficult to do, you can get the flamethrower, which is pretty good but has limited ammo. The last main story weapon is the Magnum, which is the hardest to get and only has limited ammo throughout the park. So you should pretty much just save that only for the bosses. And also, once again, another shameless rip from Resident Evil. Running back to the center of the park, it's now nighttime, and the theme park once had background music, now it just has ambient sounds playing. And also, all the monsters are gone from the park. I don't know where they went, but now it's just dead quiet with just background music playing. While walking back to the center, you can see bullets whiz past your face. And at first when I saw this, I didn't know what was happening, and after stopping and waiting, it kind of just scared the shit out of me. Someone in the park now is trying to kill us, and to be honest, I really don't care because we have the battery and we have the key, so we can go to the depths of Crow Country. Making it down the elevator, we find Detective Harrison is killed. So someone around the park is trying to kill everyone. So there's someone here that's not to be trusted, but we don't know who it is yet. Once again, another shameless Walking a bit further, we can find Tolman. While talking to Tolman, Marvin walks out behind us with a gun. He's been the guy going around killing everyone. He says he's going to kill everyone because they're all aware of the mining operation, which could lead back to him, So he's just gonna go kill everyone in the park, including Mr. Crow himself, so he can get away with it, even though that all the paperwork is in his name. So I don't know why killing them would even help him. He's still on all the paperwork, so you know what, whatever, he just wants to kill people, I guess. But right before he could shoot us, Julie comes out of the vent and knocks him off the platform, killing him. Back at the boat ride, Julie was taken into the vent by the monsters, where she stayed there before falling down and ending up here. Mara then continues down the path and makes it to the end of Crow Country, with one ladder descending all the way down. Now, this is a really nice end to the game. The game is about to end, and Mara is finally descending to the depths of Crow Country to figure out what's going on. It's a long scene with the camera slowly panning down with the sound of the ladder echoing louder and louder. It's a really nice scene, so unfortunately I have to ruin it with a shitty joke. At the bottom of the ladder, we can find that Mr. Crow has been living here. The place is a mess with what looks to be 5 vials of antidote on the table. Mara can interact with the shower, causing the purple dye to dissipate, now showing her brown hair. Going up to the intercom, Mr. Crow calls Mara by her real name, Elaine Marshall, the same girl that was injured at the park a few years ago. After grabbing the vials, we can go and talk to Mr. Crow face to face. But first, let me explain what's been going on here. When Edward Crow was 10 years old, he was going on a camping trip with his dad. Him and his dad found green tubes coming out of the ground, so they decided to cut them open, revealing gold inside of them. Edward's father purchased the land and renamed it to Crow Country. Edward's father would pass away, and now he would be in charge of the land, as well as the gold inside the tubes. He wasn't able to sell the gold since all the gold was 24 karat gold, which is 100% pure. This would attract the government's attention, so he hired Douglas Pike to build a theme park over the land, and hired Marvin to open a mining operation in Brazil, where they would send the gold there first and make it look like the gold was originally from Brazil. He would also hire tollmen to extract these roots and have a full operation of mining the gold and selling it through the Brazilian mine, with the theme park being as the cover-up. But the Brazilian government would later find out that the gold operation was fake, so Marvin came back to Crow Country to find Edward and kill everyone, because they're also involved in this and know the truth. Okay, now let's talk about the guests. There are 7 routes, and they all converge at the bottom of Crow Country in green liquid called the pool. Something emerged from the pool, so Edward trapped that thing and kept it locked inside the jail cell in the break room. Later in the operation, more guests would come from the pool, and they would be more disfigured than the first one. Edward was able to communicate somewhat with the first guests, but these next ones were feral, so Edward decided to kill them. When Elaine Marshall came to the park, she got separated from her parents, and wandering into the break room where she found the guests locked inside the cell. She would be injured by the guest and taken to the hospital. At the hospital, the doctors noticed the wounds on her weren't healing due to a strange bacteria from the guest. Elaine's parents hired Julie the lawyer to force Edward to pay for the hospital cost, but since he had disappeared, that never happened. Elaine was not getting any better, so she decided to sabotage Detective Harrison's car and head to the park herself to find answers and pretend to be the detective. Which brings us to the start of the game. Okay, now we can finish the story. Edward tells Elaine that everyone in the park is infected and that there are only 5 cures. He knew the hospital wouldn't be able to cure the virus, so he spent his time locked away here creating the 5 antidotes. Edward then tells Elaine that the pool is essentially some kind of portal, and the guests that came through it are human time travelers from the future who got disfigured from the process. Edward says that the guests are deformed because he had been destroying the roots and stripping them of the gold, like a crackhead stripping a house full of copper wiring. So Edward had just been basically destroying the portal and selling the gold, not knowing that the more he cut the roots out, the more deformed the guests would be. And that's why the first guest could sort of talk, and now the rest of them are just all even more deformed and evil. Edward was able to gather from the first guest that they are from the year 2106, and they came to the past to warn everyone of a future virus with no cure. So pretty much the guests have been coming through the portal to warn everyone of the virus, and we've just been going around killing all of them since they couldn't speak and explain to us what's going on. This is also why the number 2106 was written all over the park. The guests were trying to communicate. But Edward is now past saving, so he wants to see what would happen if he throws himself into the pool. So he just falls backwards into the pool and comes back just an evil monster. So Mara just pretty much easily kills him. He's not really a hard boss fight at all. This took me like 20 seconds to do. And that pretty much ends the game, with the 5 of them leaving Crow Country, all about to drink their antidotes. And that's pretty much all of Crow Country. I had a lot of fun playing this game, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching this. If you did enjoy the video, you should subscribe. But anyways, thank you for watching. This was Cursed Content.